Washington football. Woo! Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone. I am your host, Kyle. My two co-hosts are not here yet. Hall will be joining us momentarily. Reed most likely will not be joining us for this episode. This episode is called Santa's Reindeer, and this part of the Burgundy Zone is a part of the Frederick Podcast Network. You can find out more by going to www.listofrederick.com. But joining me for this episode is a very good friend from the Twitter sphere, a fellow Commanders faithful that has a certain disdain for enemy fans that I actually respect a heck of a whole lot, and that is my man Deuce from Redzone and Lab. How you doing tonight, brother?
I'm doing good. How you doing, Kyle?
It's always I could be better, Deuce. I'm not gonna lie to you. It'd be really cool to not be worried, to be looking at draft and free agents and
Oh my gosh.
all of these hypothetical theories that we could go down. Because I've said many times that this is probably the biggest offseason in this franchise's history, just given the fact that they have like 5 different avenues that they could truly go down. Just starting with like Sam Howell being the quarterback right now. And speaking of that, just before we get started, any of the questions, Sam Howell is the big topic of discussion at the moment. We all know going into the offseason, it's kind of massive. Where are you on the fence? Are you on the fence of, I need to see a little bit more of Sam these last couple of games in order to hitch our wagon to him, so to speak, for a couple more years? Or are you looking at it saying, I think with that top pick, we need to be going to quarterback?
For me, I was all about hashtag Bill for Sam about 3-4 weeks ago. I think I've seen enough in him as a young quarterback to believe that he's someone that can be part of the building process that can lead your franchise. Sam Howell has been really, really bad at some points, and he's been really, really good. So it really depends what as a fan and what the new regime is going to value. Are they going to value the bad, which can be because of multiple of things: the offensive line, play calling, new system, all those different sides, or the really, really good when you've seen him make big time throws. You've seen him make elite throws, and multiple times, not just one-offs. You've seen him be able to escape the pocket and work off script. These are the things that you've seen, and some of the things that he's lacking at is things that you kind of expect to see from a young quarterback. So I'm okay with Sam Howell. I'm okay going into next year as Sam Howell being the guy. And on the other side of it, where I am is like whatever Hawk wants to do with this new regime, whatever the new GM they get, I'm okay with it. I'm not going to be upset either way.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying before is like this team is like perfectly set up for any sort of scenario that a GM, whatever GM that they bring in here. Like if they brought in a GM here that said, I want to build from within what they have in place with Sam Howell around him, he can do that. Or on the flip side of that, if they have a GM who says, I want to be able to turn over this thing immediately, wash away everything and trade away as many assets as I can, you have the ability to because you have a lot of cap space, a lot of draft picks, a lot of good movable parts here. So that's a beautiful thing about this scenario that we're in is that really we could go in so many different ways, and it's a very high value, I would say, job of occupation for a GM out there, which is not something that we have heard in my lifetime. Just being honest, that I can remember. And so it's kind of crazy the scenario that we're in, but I understand what Josh Harris is saying by patience, essentially saying, I know it's hard right now, but just bear with me, and it's hard to do that with I know everyone we've been beaten down for the past 30 years, I get it. We've seen so much losing, but we've done it for 30 years. I think we can manage it for half a season longer just to manage winning. You know what I mean, Deuce?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, you mentioned this job and this been a destination for the top GMs out there, the top head coaches. Like you said, when is the last time, right? When is the last time where we didn't have to go out there and beg someone and plead with someone? Hey, look, this is going to be a place where outside people is going to look at this as a top destination. They're going to be calling us now. Hey, look, what do you look? Like I've never experienced this, and I've been with this team a very long time. Even all the way back to when we brought Joe Gibbs back, we had to go get him from wherever he was to bring him back. And like, what other coach and GM and those front office people looking at this job like, hey, look, telling their agents, call them and see what they looking for. I think this is where we are this off season for sure.
Yeah, and before we get into more questions and everything like that, I want to kind of talk about the hot topic items that have happened
Oh
recently.
boy.
One being that Grant Paulson had tweeted earlier, I forget exactly what it was from, forgive me, but essentially the Commanders player was saying that Eric Bieniemy wasn't respecting their rehab time, and his meetings were going longer than it was bleeding into the rehab time, and they didn't really like that. And the last quote that I saw in Grant Paulson's tweet, it said that EB is now respecting our rehab time. A lot of people have taken that some different ways, Deuce. Some people are saying, calling the players soft. How are you feeling about it?
I mean, this is the NFL. This is brutal. I mean, this you can actually attach this to CTE and those types of things, and the league trying to, advance player safety, different ways to protect these players, and rehab is very, very important to these players. I mean, I'm going a different league, but LeBron James spends $1 million on his body every year. So it's a thing to these players that you have to respect that time. I mean, even when Grant had posted, he talked about how Eric Bieniemy understood that and said that he was going to allow players to bring some of that equipment in the meetings so they can still go through their treatment while they was having these meetings. So he understands the importance of it. And look, these are grown men that's trying to protect their bodies and they want to hold up to this. Someone want to be in the league 5 to 8 years to be able to set up their family's wealth behind them. So you have to respect that. At some point, we can't just be like, hey, they soft. We don't play the game, right?
Mm.
I mean, just think about how you are the day after you go out there and you play Turkey Bowl with your friends from
Right.
not playing and stretching all year. See how your body is 2 hours after that game. And you tell me if you want to sit in a meeting 30, 45 minutes, 45 minutes after you want to get your stretching in. So you have to respect that.
Yeah, totally. And my whole mindset was, well, if if that is a problem, then couldn't the coaches like give a tablet or something to be able to produce the meeting on for them to do in rehab? If that truly is the case, put a freaking TV in the rehab room and say, look, here you can watch the meeting while doing your rehab. Then you know what I mean. And so that my thought process here is, it seems really stupid to that's something to be concerned about. But that being said, if you think about war or anything like my line of work, construction, if I have an injured back, an injured leg, I'm not going to be putting out 100%. And so at the end of the day, what does Eric Bieniemy want truly? Does he want you being out there 100% on the field or just being able to divulge into that meeting classroom? So I understand both sides of the argument. But to be able to get an educated opinion on this, we are now joined by our guest, Mr. Anthony Armstrong, former wide receiver of the Washington Redskins. Thank you for blessing us on this Thursday evening, sir. How you doing? Hey, your microphone, you're muted. You're muted.
Damn, I had everything muted. I bet Kyle's so mad at me. He thinking I've been ducking him and stuff. Man,
just one of many. Just one of many.
It's
Anthony.
been crazy over here, man. Just a lot happening on this side. So I'm glad to be back. Glad to make it. What's up, Deuce? Nice
What's
to
going
see
on,
you.
man? What's going
Nice
on?
to see you.
You're not the only one, Anthony. You're not the only one that's been going through a lot here in Washington. And speaking of that, I'm not sure if you saw the quote that Grant Paulson had tweeted, but a player saying that EB wasn't respecting their rehab time and his meetings were going longer into the rehab. What was your kind of opinion on that when you read it?
Honestly, I was just about to ask, what quote were y'all talking about? What quote were y'all talking about? Man, I was in here wondering what was the inner workings of it going on inside the building that's been making people not want to, endorse EB for head coach. Because it's got to be something. Something's got to be happening in there. But it's like, man, when it's like I feel like whenever you're not you're not allowing the people to get the rehab, you're not respecting that time. You do have to respect those other people's, the trainer's job because they're trying to get you guys back on the field. It's just so interesting to me. This is literally the first time I'm hearing about that, right? So I don't know.
So I have it here. If you want me to read it, Kyle,
please,
I have it here. Okay. And this was told to ESPN, not to Grant Paulson. So he just
tweeted it out from ESPN. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, it said among the players' other issues early in the year, per team sources, was that Afternoon offensive meetings frequently ran long and got in the way of players needed treatment. Bieniemy initially concession was to allow players to use foam rollers on the floor of the meeting rooms to save meeting time per a team source. In recent weeks, Bieniemy has relaxed some of those demands, including shortening Wednesday practices from 2 hours to closer to an hour and a half. He's gotten better at respecting our time, one player told ESPN.
I don't know.
See, it's that last quote, isn't it, Anthony? It's that last quote.
Okay, so when you talk about using foam rollers and stuff in the meeting, that sounds like that's like your pre-practice routine. You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing to get ready for practice? Sounds like EB saying, "Hey, man, bring a lot of that stuff in here because it's more important to spend some time in here watching this tape." And I get that. Like, I mean, if you think about it, you only have X amount of time to work with these guys. You're trying to maximize as much time as you can to get this offense in there and get it installed and be on the same page. So I can see where where EB was getting into. Now, when they said rehab time, I'm thinking so and so has an injury.
That's what I'm thinking.
I have an appointment with the trainer. Like, no, that right there, frankly, that takes precedent. Because if you're injured, you can't play anyways. You need to get in there and get your treatment at that specific time. But if it's like the things about being prepared for practice and now you can't get out there as early, I mean, so some of that leans more to the side of like, this is just not, I don't like the way things are going because they're not how they used to be type of a thing. It just seems like they're shaking the boat. That's what it sounds like to me.
All right, now let's get this back to the round table. We're now welcomed by my host, Mr. Michael Hall. How you doing, brother? Good to see you.
What up? What up? What up? How everybody doing?
Doing well. But Anthony, to start this off, my question to you, because a lot of people have been speculating, have been hypothetically talking, saying that the wide receivers are not getting a lot of separation on their routes, that possibly the offensive scheme is not wide receiver friendly, you could say, to an extent. What have you seen? Because obviously, going back to Terry McLaurin last week, not having any catches, this has become a talking point. So in your opinion, is that what you're seeing?
When I was thinking about that earlier, and there's generally a couple ways that you see offenses go. Sometimes you have OCs that will scheme somebody to get a catch all the time. They'll scheme them to get 15 targets, right? Like think Justin Jefferson last year. They would always move him around and put him in motion to get him in favorable situations and just feed him the ball. But then there's some systems where the system works and you run the system inside of it. And then, coverage will dictate. I've kind of leaned thinking that it was more, that's kind of, I was thinking you were going to get more of the adjustments and moving people around bit, but it seems like it's more of a whole systematic thing. So, for example, if you get a cover 2, it may negate Terry McLaurin on a specific look. And that may just be how it goes sometimes. So not creating separation, that's something that you have to look at, each individual receiver. But a lot of the lower output from the receiving core, I'm going to put on the fact that I've been putting some on the fact that you got a young quarterback. And I know everybody's like, oh, but he's bad. Look, he hadn't seen everything. If you're seeing exotic things and the look changes on you, it slows down your processing speed. Everybody says Sam get the ball out of your pocket, out of your hands, but then when he gets sacked, he's had the ball for 4.5 seconds in a lot of situations. Right? When you're giving up 55 sacks, it negates what you can really do. Like you don't have a lot of plays for 3rd and 20. So, I think if there's like less sacks and a little bit more faster processing time or, clear decision-making from Sam, I think you see those numbers go up. I don't want to put it all on the receiving core yet without going back and looking at a lot of tape to see, like, are people really getting open or is it just one of those ones where it's predictable. We know what y'all are about to run type thing.
I got you. Deuce, you got a question for Anthony?
Yeah, so and that's the thing. Like I've always I am defending Terry McLaurin because it's very difficult, especially from early in the year when you're running 3 outs into 7 defensive players, right? You have 3 routes that you run into 7 defensive players because 4 is always getting home and being disruptive. But for you guys, like when we use these different stats, Anthony, like next gen and separation and cushion, and we start to say who's the best in the league, is that something like you guys when you going over film or when you're looking at your numbers that you're kind of like worried over, or kind of use that as a I need to get better at this?
Honestly, man, I don't pay much attention to it. The only one that I think people pay attention to are going to be the top speed ones. Like how fast was I
Yep.
actually running? I'll tell you, when
You
I
sent
was in
screenshots to your
Cleveland,
boys in the group chat.
right? But like, look, when I was in Cleveland, and this was when that GPS stuff was when I first experienced it was in Cleveland. There was a day that I had ran like 20, 22 miles an hour, something that had a pretty fast speed. So I was pretty proud of that to have seen that, to have ran that fast. But I mean, honestly, here's what it's like in the league, Deuce. They say that in high school, your separation is like 5 yards or 6 yards.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then in college, it's like, 3 yards. But in the league, it's a yard. You're in between the ball and the defender, you won. That's what separation is in this league. So to see, this person creates the most separation. I mean, that's cool to see. That means they're doing some good things when they run their routes. But I mean, ultimately, it doesn't mean you're always gonna get the ball thrown your way. So
And catch
it's
it.
just it's one of those.
Yeah.
It's a cool thing to track, I can say. But I gotta see it on tape. I gotta see what you look like on tape. You know
Well,
what I mean?
because some of those metrics, it was like the ESPN separation metrics. I looked at it, like there was like an open percentage of different categories, and they had like
cushion.
it had like people like TJ Hawkinson and Noah Fant over Jahan Dotson and Terry McLaurin. And I'm sitting here saying, okay, something is obviously wrong, and I'm not trusting what I'm reading right now. You know what I'm saying? Sorry, Hall.
Yeah, I guess you got to see who. I guess you got to see who are they trying to determine is covering the person, right? Because I mean, if a tight end's in the slot, but then the linebacker blitzes, now the safety's covering him, but the safety's at 12 yards. It's like, he's created 10 yards of separation. I'm like, no, he ran a hot route, blitz,
Right.
and this guy is covering him now. So that's kind of a skewed metric, but no, that's interesting. I like the next gen stuff. It's fun to see. Ultimately, man, I got to see who can throw and catch and tackle.
Yeah, that's what it always comes down to. So I guess sticking with the wide receivers, a lot of people coming into the season thought that Jahan Dotson was about to burst onto the scene. He was going to be a rising star in this league and for this team. And it kind of seems like he's just like he's had a case of the drops this year, obviously. And it just seems like, I know that people are making a thing about the separation, but I mean, he wasn't getting much separation last year. He still scored 7 touchdowns. So what do you think has been his struggle this year as far as like on the field? Do you think it's like a sophomore slump? Do you think it's the system that he's in? Or do you think it's just Sam Howell and Jahan Dotson's connection or chemistry? I mean,
Wasn't Ocho Cinco was all over Jahan Dotson's route running last year?
Everybody was.
Yeah.
Everybody was.
He can run routes like crazy.
Yeah.
Now there's we talk about the route running. There is a way that how people want you to operate their offense. Like I said before, some people are like, hey, I need you to be in this area around this time and do it how you do it. And then there's other people who are like, I want you to run it this way because it needs to be done in this specific way. And a lot of times I've seen and I've learned that you need to show me you can do it in the way I need you to do it before I let you freestyle it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right. It's like if you learning a recipe from your mama and it's a passed down recipe, Hall, and I'm going to teach you the way that my mammy taught me and her mammy taught her. Now, don't go trying nothing new. Learn it this way first.
Don't try to add nothing extra in there.
Yeah, it could be one of those things. But Jahan is a hell of a route runner. And you got to think, too, man, people have seen you on tape. They know what you can do. They're that much more prepared for you. Now you have to be able to bring that second move, that counter to what they're countering you, right? They know he's shifty. They know he can do all these things. But, once you've seen offenses and you've seen people run their route, you get picked up on their tendencies, right? So this is where EB has to grow as a play caller. I think he needs to grow as a play caller by leaning on 8 a lot more, right?
Yeah.
Change his tendencies instead of, 3rd and 12 and you go to the same, concept. Hey, now you got to find some different things to go to, find different ways to get to where you're trying to do. So it's going to be a challenge and a way for everybody to grow. But when you look at that receiver position, I mean, honestly, I was just looking at the stats. There's like four people have like 400 yards, and then Terry has like 600. So that's a lot of. It's spread out everywhere. Yeah, I was thinking you were going to get a lot of catch and run, a lot of catch, big plays out of this team. And Deuce, you said it great. 4 people are getting to the quarterback, dropping 7 in coverage. Like you don't even have to do it. Like you can make it look like it's a blitz, and then everybody's dropping back. That's hard to operate into. You know what I'm saying? So you're kind of hamstrung. They're going to challenge this quarterback to make decisions with the ball and be quick with things, and it's just a process right now.
Yeah, you're not lying. And I said something in the chat the other day about that, pertaining to that, essentially saying that it's weird watching our games where we have multiple guys defending the pass. They only have 2 route runners, and we can't cover that guy, be within the 3 yards like you talked about. But our guys are going into flooded deep fields, and they're getting tossed with 2 guys around them. And it's not a disrespect to the wide receivers, just saying that they're going against good defenses, and we can't do it. But that being said, Anthony, let's not get negative. But to wrap this up, I only have a couple more questions for you, brother. Unfortunately for Bills Mafia, Sean McDermott has come into the bad spotlight here with his comments pertaining to a speech that he gave to the team in 2019 referencing the terrorists on 9/11. I don't want to ask you about that or if you think that's acceptable or not. My question to you is, what is the craziest thing you've heard a coach try to pump you guys up with?
Oh my goodness, okay, so I'll have 2.
That's a good question, Kyle.
I'm gonna have one on the weird side, and then I'm gonna have one that was really, really kind of motivational. On the weird side, it was actually when I first got to Washington. It was Jim Zorn, and
this is gonna be good.
It was just a random he would just give a random pre-practice speech.
Hip hooray!
But it wouldn't really correlate to much. And he was just talking about how, I don't remember the exact details, but he was just talking about how he used to work at this water park, and he had a friend who worked at the water park, and the guy fell in the water, and he had to get the oar, and he stuck the oar in the water and saved his friend and pulled him out. He's like, guys, we got to grab the oar. We got to grab the oar this week. And everybody was like, what in the hell are you talking about? You're like, what are you talking about?
How deep is the water at water parks?
I mean, it was kind of random. It was out of the blue. And I'm coming from Miami. I was just like, I don't know what the hell going on over here. But
the moral of the story is that Jim Zorn was the one that was drowning in the kiddie pool water.
Oh no! He's the one that had the oar. He actually didn't save it.
That's what he says, Anthony.
At least that's how I heard it, right? But the other one comes from when I was in Miami. I was just on practice squad then, and we're in the meeting room, and it was Tony Sperano. So if y'all know anything about him,
I remember the the Raiders one.
Yeah, Raiders. So this is when he was much younger, and rest in peace to Coach Sperano, but. We were about to play the Jets, and we're in the meeting room, and he has this thick Italian accent. He's like, "Use guys, we go into this field, use guys, and they're gonna close the gates on that park, and they're gonna put the lock on there. Only one team's coming out." And everybody was hyped for that game. The only thing was it was a Saturday when he gave this speech, and it wasn't Sunday. It was Sunday. Oh baby, we would have tore that place. I left the facility hype as hell just to go home and play Madden. But he talked about closing the gate and locking that padlock. Man, I was like, "Yo, I am hyped." This
Anthony Armstrong had 6 touchdowns in that Madden game.
Yeah, I'm bumping my speed up and everything.
Anthony, my next question for you, the title of this episode is Santa's Reindeer, and obviously there's 8 reindeer that guide Santa's sleigh. So in that sense, the GM or Josh Harris is Santa and his sleigh. Who are the 8 players that you could think of that Washington can look into guiding their sleigh going into the offseason and next season?
All right, cool. I got to pull out a piece of paper here. So in no particular order, I'm going Cam Curl. I'm going Sam Howell. I'm going Deron Payne. I'm going with are these like vets or what? Or just anybody?
Anybody. Like basically that if a GM came in here that was a mad scientist that wanted to trade away as many people as possible, what are the 8 players that you would say are not that you don't want to move on from, you want to continue building?
Gotcha. Okay. So yeah, give me Curl, Howell, Payne. Give me. I want Defoe to come back because I know that him and Curl kind of ride. They ride
Damn you,
together.
Anthony.
I hate that he's been hurt, but like I like the way that he plays on the field. You
We
know what
gotta
I'm
have a
saying?
wide receiver here, man.
Oh, don't worry, I got one. I'm gonna give you
He
Jahan.
got to choose his own reindeer,
I'm gonna give you
Kyle. I know.
Jahan. I was just holding on a little bit there. Give me B Rob. Okay. Bum, 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 bum,
That
bum.
we're at 6 right now, so 2 more.
Yeah, I'm at 6. Let's see. Give me Terry too,
Yeah.
because I'm
The
not
Walter
bailing
Payton
on
Man of
him.
the Year award nominee.
Yeah, yeah.
Congratulations.
I'm not bailing on Terry, man. I just saved it for the end for some
Got to build the suspense up.
suspense for sure. My last one, man. I mean, hell, give me. I was gonna say either like Jamin, or you could give me Cosme maybe. But
I'll
at
give you
this point, the whole O line need to get the hell out of here. But I regress. I know it's a tough damn position to do, but
Cosme's a good pick for that.
give me yeah, let's represent for the O line. I'll say Cosme because
Me-
I honestly did say, I was just saying earlier that I think that there's a lot of positions that are open right now. Like if you think that you good and you cool, shit, put some bad on tape.
Let's go.
Put
An-
some bad on tape.
Anthony, last question I have for you pertaining to the 90 million in cap space. I don't want to get into the draft too badly, but that 90 mil, there's a lot of navigating that you can do there. Is there anybody in mind, free agents or re-signs or anything like that you want to be able to see get added here? Because it's going to be very
Man,
tricky to differentiate what you add in free agency and what you add in the draft, right?
yeah, I think the one thing that this team needs is whatever you get in free agency, and I think on defense you could use this the most is fine. I need a leader of men on that defensive side. Like I need a London Fletcher esque. I need a Ray Lewis esque. I need somebody over there
Louder.
that's gonna close the door to the defensive meeting room and say, y'all, we need to be better. You know what I'm saying? I don't need you to do it on camera and things like that. I need you to do it to your locker mates. For real, bro. I'm just saying. I'm just
You're
saying.
right. You're right. I mean, the
Big
product on the
facts.
field has shown that. And, like, I
Yeah.
wholeheartedly agree with you, Anthony. I've been saying that for a while. Like, that defense, we need a brain there. And essentially, that's what I
No,
mean.
I'm sorry, but like imagine. I know Fred Warner's not there, but like imagine a Fred Warner type in the middle.
Man.
He over there slapping linemen, scoot over. This is where you need to be. You know what I mean? People be
Yep.
like somebody take charge. It's one thing to have been on winning teams, right? Like sometimes you just in an environment, but there's a lot of people that ain't really that good that are on winning teams and got national championship.
Yep.
Mhm.
Like I need you to be like step up and be the leader in that defense. That's all I'm saying. So I'm
We-
looking for that type of player.
We don't have any of those on this team, offense or defensive side of the ball, in my opinion.
Yeah, and they either, I think Terry can be that guy, but it's tough that at the receiver position you got to
Yep.
get like 10, 12 targets and catches
Yeah.
to really start dictating that. So I don't
Right.
think he has that. Like he's a great dude, but I don't think he's the type that's gonna go bang his hand on the table and say, "I need 15 targets," or
Yeah.
else. You know what I'm saying? I got to get running, y'all. These kids looking at me.
You're good, Anthony. I really appreciate you, brother. But Trent Williams comes to mind in that regard, in the trenches being that leader. Appreciate you,
Yeah.
Anthony, as always, brother. Great
Yes,
stuff.
sir. Appreciate y'all. Y'all be
All
good.
right.
Have a good
Appreciate
one.
you.
Hopefully the kids take it easy on you, Anthony.
Oh, they
He said they won't. What's up, Hall? How you doing, man?
Whew, it's been a long day.
So
Long
before
day.
Anthony joined us, Deuce and I kind of already discussed like the anonymous player quote that Grant had tweeted out before. Anthony briefly touched on it, but if you want to kind of talk about it a little bit, do you know about it?
Yeah, you're talking about as far as like the meetings and
Yeah.
he respects our time or whatever now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, all I'm gonna say is you look at guys like Tyree Hill, Pat Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Jamal Charles. I can go down the list of players that are Pro Bowlers, multiple Pro Bowlers, all pro players, soon to be first ballot or second ballot Hall of Famers when they retire. All of them vouched for Eric Bieniemy when they said, when he first got here, whenever this little complaining thing came out during training camp, that yes, he's hard on you. And in the beginning, it's going to be a lot. But once you accept it and realize it's coming out of like I just want you to be great. I want like a love type of thing. Or like I want you to be great type of thing. Then it was the best thing for my career. And every one of those players said that. And all those dudes got pedigree. And then you look at the guys on our team who obviously we all like respect and like, and they have their accolades and whatnot, but nobody on the team got pedigree. So at the end of the day, it's like the guy has 2 rings. Yes, the coaching is being hard, but at the end, like, I'm not gonna say they're coming off as soft, but like it's just mentally soft. Like
you know
what I'm saying? Like Anthony said, guys are used to the status quo, and he's coming here shaking up things, and guys are like, oh, I don't like that. I want it to go back like how it was. Well, we've been losing for X amount of years.
Right.
So you basically want to be losers, or do you want to be winners like this guy is trying to mold you into be? So that's all I'm going to say about it.
Yeah, and
that's how I feel.
It definitely would make it worse to Anthony's point, because what Anthony had basically said was hearing the foam roller comment from EB essentially would indicate that it was a pre-practice kind of meeting, and that's what they're trying to stretch to get ready for practice. And I think that would make the situation much worse, because like Deuce and I were talking, we were thinking it was much more of like an injury-related sort of thing.
Right.
That's what they needed rehab for. But obviously that's not what Anthony is saying, and I think that obviously would make matters a lot worse. But now this question was submitted to us by the Colonel. I want to get your opinion on it. He says, as of late, Sam Howell has only thrown 1 touchdown and 5 interceptions, including 3 pick sixes. These remaining games are supposed to be showcasing whether he could be a franchise quarterback or not. Are we picking a quarterback at number 4 in the draft the way things stand now?
And just to kind of go back a little bit, it did say they gotten away if players needed treatment. So I think it did have something to do with
that's what it sounds, doesn't it?
So it's I don't know.
You're right.
But,
no, you're right, because treatment would indicate that it was it's fixing or helping with something rather than warming up something, to your point.
You know what's funny? You can almost kind of pinpoint who's complaining, because who's really kind of been injured on the sidelines and getting work other than Curtis Samuel. Like, no one's ever been reported like, oh, Terry's on the sideline working with the trainers during practice. Jahan's on the sidelines during the practice working with the trainers. Like, or there's one of the tight ends. And it was crazy because Curtis Samuel's having his best year as a Commander this year. But, like, hey, I'm just saying.
Yeah, he's all like he always kind of look outside.
I mean, if it's one of the wide receivers, like I said, it could be, like if it's an offensive meeting, it could be a lineman, it could be tight end, wide receiver. But I mean, if it's a wide receiver complaining, like, to me, the only wide receiver that was really getting work on the sidelines and like stuff was like Curtis Samuel.
I respect the hell out of wide receivers. I do. And as a lineman myself, it would truly pain me to hear a lineman making a wide receiver comment, because that is a wide receiver comment to make. Am I wrong, Deuce?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. I played wide receiver. Like, wide receiver is my position. So that's why I'm like, I mean, I don't really see a lineman doing that unless it's like a lower tier, like guy that's not really like getting any playing time. Or if it's like maybe like a tight end, but like, I mean, let's be honest, the only tight end getting any run is Logan Thomas.
I mean, it could be.
He doesn't pose me as a complainer. You know what I'm saying? So,
and Gibby, AG.
Yeah, that's true. Running backs
getting a lot of treatment and stuff too.
Right. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, it doesn't matter who's complaining.
Yeah.
It's just
they ain't winning.
Yeah, exactly.
So what was the question, Kyle? I'm sorry.
Basically, where we stand now, because Sam Howell the past couple games thrown 5 interceptions, 1 touchdown with 3 pick sixes. Right now, standing where we are right now, would we be taking a quarterback if the draft was tomorrow?
Yeah, like we was talking about earlier, Mike, before you came on. It really depends what you value. Is the new regime going to value when Sam looks really, really bad, these last 3 games, or are they going to value he looks really, really good? Because you can make excuses of why he looks so bad. You can make the excuses of why he's looked bad these last three games. We can go down there and make those excuses, but it's going to depend on them. Like for me, like I said, I'm still all in for Sam. #Bill for Sam, because I've seen him, be competitive. I've seen him make play. Like, Man, I've seen this guy like be a starting quarterback that can lead a team. He's made those plays. He's made all script throws. I mean, he has at least 5 or 6 plays that you can submit for plays of the year in the NFL this year. And that's something that we haven't seen in a very long time. So I'm still in for Sam. I go left, I go tackle. If we stay at 4, that's just where I am. Show up there for the next 15 years. And I think you can get a lot from Sam Howell.
So this is a very, very tricky question, Colonel, because where we stand today, it's very difficult. Sam Howell at the bye week, 65% completion percentage, 3,400, 66 yards passing, 18 passing touchdowns, 14 interceptions, 40 carries, 243 yards on the ground, with 5 touchdowns and 2 fumbles. So in total, 23 touchdowns and 16 turnovers. That's pretty good for a rookie quarterback coming in with, I mean, for just to correlate the two, Kenny Pickett has 2,000 yards passing. I just want to let you guys know that. That guy was picked in the first round. Sam Howell right now, 3,400. I know they're throwing a heck of a lot more than the Steelers are, but I think there's probably a good reason for that. But the reason why it's tricky for me, Colonel, because regardless of what Sam does and what happens here, the one natural caveat, which is as a short guy, it's really frustrating for me. But because one thing I heard last year was we couldn't bring in DeJuan Jones because he's 6'8". Sam wouldn't be able to see over him. Is that going to be a legit thing if Sam is a quarterback here? Like, we have to limit who we take in as linemen based on height because of the quarterback. And obviously, Drew Brees did a perfectly fine job with whatever he did, but obviously Sam is not the same quarterback as Drew Brees. It'd be kind of stupid to assume that, and that's my big question here, because if that is really something that it's gonna hamper you with player acquisition, what is the best? Because are you putting your team in the best situation to succeed? And that's my big question. Because DeJuan Jones is starting right now for the Browns, and he was a later round pick. And if you're telling me that he can't be on here because he's 6'8", do we want to put on good football teams, or we just want to try to make this thing work what we have here and hope for the best, And that's my big question in all of this, is I don't know which direction to go down in that regard.
Yeah, to that, Cal, like I don't see that as an excuse. It's not like the right tackle hikes and he just stands there.
Right.
Like his first step is back and he's protecting the edge, and the quarterback's lane and his view is inside of those tackles, and it spreads out. If anything, it's the interior that might be the issue, not the tackles.
I'm with you.
I hope that wasn't the reason, because we down real bad. That was the reason why.
I was gonna say, if they didn't draft DeJuan Jones simply based on because he's 6'8" and Sam Howell can't see, then everyone in that front office should literally. I'm making a joke. Like,
I'm just saying, when I would argue,
they should get the axe right now.
When I would argue for DeJuan Jones, that's a lot what I would get back from people. He weighs a lot.
Gotcha.
He's really, really tall. And then, but Deuce, to your point, I've also heard people recently, past couple weeks, saying he missed Terry over the middle. I think that he legitimately can't see over the middle for the interior, to your point. And so that would make a lot of sense. But that's like the one thing for me, Colonel, like the out-of-the-box kind of issue here that I'm thinking, because, I watched a little bit of the highlights of Jaden Daniels today. I sipped a little bit of the liquor, guys. I hopped back onto the wagon. Don't let the boy know I did that. But the kid is impressive. And I watched his Alabama tape. And when you see stuff like that, you're like, man, like, what the heck do we do here if we are in this position? And so, like to your point, Colonel, these are the next 4 or 5 games are the biggest games in Sam Howell's career, and honestly in this franchise's career, because this team is better off if they're able to build around Sam with the assets they have in place. Just the way I feel naturally, Sam has 2 years left on his deal on a very cheap contract. Let's roll with it. If it doesn't pan out, then you're in a position to be able to go get another quarterback, and you don't have to you're not worried about the guy you just brought in and having like Dwayne Haskins scenario. That sort of thing arrive, where you have the cog in the way and you can't bring in somebody else because he's in there, which is the excuse that we heard for Chase Young, right? For the number 2 overall pick. They had Dwayne Haskins, and Ron wanted to give him a shot at being able to lead the team for the whole year. And ultimately that led to Chase Young, right? That's just how I view it. What about you all?
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much how it was. It was a Dan Snyder pick, so Dan Snyder wanted Ron to start him. But I put this on Twitter where I was like, use that $90 million to build the team out, like obviously left tackle, build the line out, and like obviously the next 4 games are going to be telling. Like if he continues on the track that he's been on, as far as like not like 1 touchdown and what was it, 5 picks, 4 picks, whatever it is, down the stretch where he throws 4 touchdowns and I guess that would be 20 interceptions would be crazy. But either way, if he's turning the ball over a lot more than he's actually scoring points, then I do think that the tide will turn as far as like, okay, let's explore the quarterback option in 2024 draft. But I said on Twitter that build the team out with that 90 million, and obviously there's going to be some cuts here and there, so it's going to be more than 90 million dollars once free agency really actually starts. It's probably going to be upwards close to 100, if not more, depending on if they re-sign
Right.
Kerr or whatever. Blah blah blah. But anyway, and then you have those top 5 picks in the top 100, and you have the 3 in the top like 40 or 50, whatever it is at this point. I think that if you use those assets, and obviously you're going to have to hit on the picks, sign some guys in free agency that are not busts like William Jackson III and
Right.
Andrew Wiley and guys like that. So, but you look at teams where they've turned it around, not in like a year, but they've pretty much did a 180 in a year where, okay, we have a nice team. We got some young pieces because we have all these draft picks. We got some veterans that we signed in free agency to mix in with these veterans. Now let's see, with a little bit more talent around him, what Sam Howell can do. And to your point about the interior, I think the more that Sam plays the position, I think that his pocket presence will get better, and he'll be able to slide a little bit more in the pocket and find those passing lanes. And also, if we shore up that interior, he's not going to have guys getting pushed up into his lap that's making him force him to miss those throws. That may be able to give him a little bit more clearer windows for him to slide over, like a la Drew Brees, Russell Wilson, whoever it might be, and make those throws over the middle or down the field. So, me personally, I think that they should build the team out, draft well, make good signings. And if Sam isn't the guy next year, he's kind of on the same trajectory he is now, then you have a semi-good team hopefully built out. And maybe you attack the quarterback in 2025. Maybe there's going to be a veteran on the market. Maybe you acquire some more draft picks via trading some guys off. You move up in the draft for 2025. Who knows? But for right now, if Sam goes back to how he was playing in the first half of the season, or even flashes that 3-game stretch, I think that people will feel more confident going into 24 with him.
Yeah, and Anthony's point about the defense needing that sort of leadership, that is something that we should probably see out of Sam in these last couple games. Sam has done a great job of commanding this team, but have you truly seen him honestly take command of it? Do you know what I'm saying? Like actually have the grip on it that you've seen other quarterbacks have. And obviously he's a young man, and it's hard to do it with other grown men who are older than you who get paid very well to do their job. But I'm just saying that's something you would like to see out of Sam to take control over this football team. But to wrap this up, we have a couple more fan questions, boys. But this one's from Scott Hartley in the UK. Oi! Thank you,
Oi.
Scott. Deuce, he says, hi, gents. What has been your biggest disappointment either on or off the field so far this season? Being blown out by Dallas, 40 against the Bears.
That Bears game was horrible.
Horrible. It's not mine, though.
Mine is that, like, I mean, just thinking about it, I can't even think about nothing else now. Like, it was horrible because of the fact that we were beat with a quarterback, a wide receiver, and one route the entire game.
Okay.
It's depressing. I wanted to let that one soak because you're right. You're right. That's what happened.
He did not throw across the middle one time.
Nope.
6-yard hitch, take it to the house.
So for me, Scott, it's going to be a little bit different. And I'm going to bring this back to April, and it's going to be Braden Daniels. I talked about DeJuan Jones, all those tackles. They've done a pretty good job this year. DeJuan's probably doing the best of all three. But I told you, I said it so many freaking times and probably annoyed everybody. But it was DeJuan Jones, it was Anton Harrison, and it was Darnell Wright. Those were my top offensive tackles in this class. And when we took Braden Daniels, that was kind of a, huh? But then seeing that literally, like your 4th-round pick is not even dressing, I think that's a massive disappointment in a huge, massive misappropriation of funds of assets, if that makes any sense at all.
Yeah, my biggest disappointment, I would say, it's got to be that first Giants game, just because that was kind of like the beginning of that stretch where it's like, all right, we
Yeah.
lost the Bears game. It is what it is. Like, that's Thursday night. Funky stuff happens on Thursday night football. Like, whatever. Hopefully that's just a one-off. And then it's kind of like you go to New York, and to lose that game, it was kind of like,
Do you
what are we
remember
really
that?
doing
Do you
here?
remember that guy who tweeted? It was right after that loss. He said, that Giants fan, he said, it doesn't matter what the hell we're going through. We'll always beat Washington.
Yep.
And then Tommy
Yeah.
DeVito comes out and does that against us. And that's what I was just like, I thought back to that tweet, and I'm just like, oh my God.
It's literally so true. And like, if you really just look at just the two Giants games and the Bears games, which are obviously, like, I'm not going to say games we should have won, because two of them were blowouts, and one of them was just a throw up on ourselves. What are we doing out here in New York type of
Right.
game? But if you win those games, somehow you find a way to win those three games, it's a completely different season right now.
Yep.
They're literally, 7-6 at this point, probably in the seventh wild card spot, maybe even the sixth, depending on how weak the conference is. And it's we're going into the bye week like, look, we got a tough stretch coming up, but it's playoff push time. Instead, we're sitting here like, in week 13, Willie has been in week 11 or 12, like, well, who are we going to be drafting? Like, oh, let's talk about the draft, 2024. Who's going to be fired? So it's just one of the same old rinse, wash, and repeat thing again. And like I said, really just started with that game in New York where it was just all around disgusting to watch.
All right, but let's go with a rapid fire here to wrap up this episode, boys. This next question from Yam Sensei. Go to you, Deuce. He asks, seriously, why would we go with quarterback with a top 4 pick when the team has so many other needs? Most notably a better O-line. It's my thinking that even a chance of a true / maybe stud quarterback will simply falter behind a weak O-line, and we wouldn't do them any favors. Am I wrong in this thought?
Nah, he's not. You can't expect a rookie to come in here if you don't shore up the offensive line. And the argument with a lot, of us that want to go quarterback with the first pick is that, hey, we can still show up the offensive line, which is true. This is a very deep draft with tackles. Of course, you want the best, you want the best. But at the same time, if you want to go quarterback, you still can show up this offensive line if you pick first.
Yep, I totally agree with you there. Now, this next question is from Chris Comerton. Hall, do you think the leak that Nick Sirianni is the one actually calling plays is a ploy / lie to keep teams from hiring Brian Johnson this offseason? Teams being us, LOL.
No, because if teams want to interview him, teams are going to interview him. And I mean, I'm pretty sure it's not going to be like another Eric Bieniemy situation. I think that teams aren't going to be like, oh, he's not calling the plays, so let's not give him a head coaching job. I think that, he's going to interview with teams regardless, just because he's on the Eagles. They're successful. He's coaching Jalen Hurts, and the offense is putting up crazy numbers from week to week, and they're 10-3 or whatever they are right now. So just by default, he'll get interviews, and even if he's not calling plays, I think we've seen throughout the history of the NFL with Doug Peterson, what's the dude that's back in Kansas City now that coached the Bears? Matt Nagy.
Yeah.
Those guys didn't call plays. Andy Reid was calling plays, and they've gotten head coaching jobs. So, yeah, I think he'll get it. But also, I don't really want to hire Brian Johnson as our head coach either. I mean, good offensive coordinator, but I mean, let's be honest. Does that Eagles offense really look like it did last year? Like, no. It's just really just like don't get me wrong. I wish that we could have a offense where we feed a guy like A.J. Brown gets to like 11, 12 targets a game. I wish we had an offense like that where we'd feature Terry McLaurin like that. But I think that it's a lot of it that has to do with Jalen Hurts just being Superman in the fourth quarter and dragging his team to the finish line. A la Eric Bieniemy. I'll use that quote.
First time in Hall's life that he's ever refused a BJ. But now the next question, this one is from Tim Towner. He asks, we need not one, but 2 offensive tackles. Agreed? My question is, do we use our top 6 picks to do this, or sink a large chunk of cash into free agency? I think, Tim, that you do exactly what the Kansas City Chiefs have been able to do, and which is they either go down the route of using their high-value assets to divulge into the offensive line through the draft in those top kind of picks, or they get the smart free agent acquisition. right? Deuce, I think you probably know the numbers. When Orlando Brown went to Kansas City the first time, did they pay him a crap load? Do you know?
I think they
Deuce?
did, yeah.
I'm not sure if they did. I don't think they did. So, like, that's my whole point is that they were smartly moving it around. Like, he went to go get a payday with Cincinnati. That's the way that I kind of interpreted it.
Oh, no. They traded for him from the Ravens, I think.
Right. And that's why I was saying, like, that
And then he
contract.
got paid in Cincinnati.
That's my
Oh, it's
point.
from Orlando Brown.
Yeah. And so with that, like I want to go down the Kansas City Chiefs route of using the draft and then using the smart acquisitions where there's high value assets. You're getting it for cheap, kind of like Trent Williams with us kind of way. Like that's the smart way to kind of build it. And I'm with it that way. And so I think that's probably the smartest thing to do. And I do expect at least 2 of them to be used on offensive line in this draft. This draft in particular, there's not a lot of linebackers I've seen that blow off the screen. And people will say this linebacker, that linebacker's good. But those are one player, and the team could take them in the second round and be off your board completely. What do you do then? You're screwed. There's nobody else. So you have to have backup plans. So in that regard, I do think that we should be using those on the offensive tackles. Now, another rapid fire, Deuce. This next question is from Tim Towner. Will Sam Howell be the quarterback in 2024?
If it was up to me, yes, but you have to expect it for him not to be too. You just don't know the direction this team is going to be in, and you have to be okay with it. I'm okay with it. If he's here, I'm okay. If he's not, I'm okay too.
Yes, I agree with you there. Last question we have, Hall. Do you think a young quarterback throwing to 10 to 12 different targets a game negatively impacts the chemistry/timing of the play? Would it be better for a young quarterback to have more of the plays go to 3 to 4 primary targets?
That's actually a good question. If it was up to me, again,
I don't
like
care
said,
as long as you score points, man.
Yeah, basically, yeah. But if it was up to me, like I would feature your best player. Like that's what the good teams do. They feature their best player on the offense. They feed him. But at the same time, with a young quarterback going through his progressions and just pretty much making the right play and making the right throw, you can't really be mad at that because he's learning the offense and he's really going through his progressions. And at the end of the day, like it's predictable to kind of just line Terry up and be like, hey, run this route, target him 8-10 times. Yes. It's a little bit less predictable when you're spreading the ball out and this guy can get it on any random play. But like I said, me personally, I would have an offense where you target 3-4 guys heavily and then everyone else just gets the scraps. But like you said, Kyle, no matter how you want to do it, if you're scoring points, I don't really care how you're doing it. Cool, but they're not really scoring points right now. So you got to do something.
Yep. And now, before we get into the last part of Santa's Reindeer, real quick, talk about the price hikes that they announced for that. Josh Harris and Jason Wright had sent a letter to the fans, the season ticket holders, saying that they're raising the prices of the tickets by 9% right before Christmas. A lot of people have talked about this also right before Hanukkah because the start of Hanukkah is today. They did this a couple days ago. So we can't just limit it just to Christmas, right? We can't forget about Hanukkah, people. With that being said, what is your opinion on the price hike, Hall? Do you have any thoughts about it?
I mean, it sucks, obviously. Like, no one wants to get a price hike on their tickets, like right before the holidays and whatnot. And I guess if you would have like put out a flyer or sent out a letter, newsletter, whatever you want to call it, maybe a week or two ago, 3 weeks ago, like
that would have been smart. Yes,
it would have been a little bit smarter. It kind of lessens the blow, softens the blow or whatnot. And maybe like people are like, all right, I'm mad, but like they're over it a couple days later, you know? But at the end of the day, I look at it like the dudes just paid $6 billion for a team. They already talked about how they put upgrades into FedEx and they want to keep putting more upgrades into FedEx Field. And they want to make the fan experience better. Obviously, you're going to have money to put away for a crew to like sign free agency and whatnot. So you got to have the money coming in from somewhere. So, I mean, it is what it is. It sucks, like I said, but if you want a winning product on the field or you want to at least have a better stadium so we can get a newer one, this is the cost of doing business, no pun intended. So, yeah, that's kind of my take on it.
Deuce, do you have to get out of here?
No. We're good.
Okay, cool.
One more thing I will say, though. I think, obviously, like, by raising the tickets, yeah, it sucks, but I think if they improve the fan experience next year, I think if people see actual real upgrades at FedEx and actually see where their money's going to and they continue to do like little like giveaways and half off this, half off that, I think it'll also kind of be like, okay, we're taking a little bit of money here, but at least we're giving it to you back here this ways. People are still going to be mad, obviously, but
They
I'm
they
just saying.
could give away all the pencils and pens and flags and beanies that they want. Winning on the football field is what's going to make everybody
But that's
happy.
my point. And that's my point. Winning on the field goes into also
I got
you
you.
got to put money away for the accrue
Yeah.
account like that to pay free agents and whatnot. So I mean, all the little bit of money adds up in the long run. Yeah, it sucks, but like I said, if you want a winning product on the field and you want to have a good experience at the stadium, this is the cost of doing business.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll say on this regard, I will say that Josh Harris is one smart, damn human being in the sense that we can complain all day about these season ticket prices. We could talk about it being crappy, horrible timing that they did it. That's fine. But Josh Harris is smart in knowing that with $90 million in cap space, with a top 5 draft pick, with a load of high value assets in the draft in rounds 1 through 4, that we'll all be crawling back to this football team by April. By April.
We're addicts.
So you could say it all day long, but he knows damn well with all those assets in the chamber, you're going to be back, and that's why you're paying more money, because he expects the product to improve next season, and that's what you're paying for. And so you got to have faith, baby. But Santa's reindeer boys, I want us to we are picking our own of the 8. So we got 8 reindeer guiding the commander's sleigh this Christmas. Who is guiding us into next season? You get to pick one of the 8, Hall. Who are you going with?
I gotta go with. I'm gonna go with Brian Robinson just because he showed so much growth, like as far as running the football, catching the ball at the backfield, and I think that he's not gonna be that home run hitter that I would so much covet right now. But at the same time, he can also be that. He's more than a bruising back, is what I'll say, and he's a guy you can definitely build around and put your offense around as far as the running game goes.
Absolutely. Brian Robinson so far this year, 160 carries, 694 yards on the ground with 4.2 average on the ground with 5 touchdowns. He obviously, with limited amount of snaps, he definitely deserves it. The one I'll put in there is obviously Cameron Curl. He was the first on my list. Everyone could talk about him not being a free safety, whatever. I don't know who told you that he was a free safety, but they were lying. That's not what he does. What he does is he straps up whoever he's playing against, and he's never been a roaming. But I will say this. Jeremy Reeves being injured was a huge issue with Derek Forrest being out. Cameron Curl and Jeremy Reeves worked very well together a couple years ago, and they have good cohesiveness working as free safety, strong safety. Jeremy Reeves' injury was massive in that regard. Who do you got, Deuce?
All right. So we just got to pick one person?
Yeah, we're going to keep going one. We're each going to pick what?
All right, pick somebody. Got you. All right. So I am going to go with Payne.
With Duran. A lot of people are talking crap about Duran, but Duran, 41 tackles, 2 sacks, 10 tackles for loss, and 2 forced fumbles. He's still...
Look, he wasn't going to get 11 and a half sacks this year.
No,
Right.
it's insane to think that a defensive tackle did that.
Yeah,
People act like he's the first player to play out of his mind in a contract season. Like NFL players do that literally all the time. Like it is what it is. Doesn't mean he's not a bad player or a horrible player. It still means he's a good and can be a great player.
Right.
That's all it means.
I'm with you. Next one, I'm going to put this one down. I'm going to put my boy Tress Way. Tress Way deserves to be on this list. Best player on the football team, most consistent, and he's a damn good podcast host. He's doing a very good job on the team Man Up or whatever. Doing a great job with that. I watch every single one, even though I can't think of the name right now because I'm having a brain fart. But Tress Way, what about you, Hall?
I had him on my 8 too.
Did you?
I'll go. Obviously, I'm gonna go Terry McLaurin. I think that people want to try to kick Terry because he's having a down year. Like people act like players never had like down years before. People forget that he had the toe injury, the turf toe. If I had to guess, that's still lingering around. People making things about his separation and percentage, whatever it is, blah blah blah.
Who'd you pick?
He's had the same step. He's Terry. He's had the same separation he's had his whole career. He just makes the most of those 50-50 YOLO balls. He did not forget how to play football. Terry is still Terry. I want to keep Terry and build around Terry.
Great job. For me, we got 4 so far. We got Cam Curl, Terry McLaurin, Brian Robinson, Tress Way. So we got 4. My next one I'll add is John Ridgeway. I think John Ridgeway needs to be here moving forward. What about you, Deuce?
I gotta go. I'm gonna go Cosme. I think we need I think we need somebody there that can liven up the party, that can dance a little bit when people get a little down. So I'm gonna go Cosme.
All right, Hall.
It's a good pick. I'll go Derek Forrest. Like Anthony talked about, him and Cam Curl got good chemistry together. When he was out there a couple years ago, he was getting turnovers, interceptions, and whatnot. He was coming down in the box, laying the boom on players. So I think that we have our free safety and strong safety combo if they choose to sign Curl. Hopefully re-sign Curl, so I'll go with Derek Force.
And obviously Sam Howell, add that one in there. I think we all can agree on that. I'm not sure about Hall if he's in the top 5 pick quarterback category. But that leaves us with 8. So it has Cam Curl, Sam Howell, Terry McLaurin, John Ridgeway, B-Rob, Tressway, Cosme, and Defoe. I forgot Payne. You added Payne, so we actually have one more. So let's have Sam Howell being Rudolph. I feel like that's a good grasp there. I would add one notable mention in Jacoby Brissett. If they do stick with Sam Howell going into next season, I would like to see Jacoby Brissett stay as the backup. You see how vocal and communicative he is with Sam during games and kind of helping and educating and talking the game. I think Jacoby is very, very important to Sam Howell's progression. I would like to see Jacoby back here. All right, everybody, that's going to wrap us up for this episode. I can't thank you guys enough for tuning in with us, joining us, supporting us. Deuce, being able to come on for the whole show with Reed being gone, I can't thank you enough, man. I know you got so much going on already.
Yes,
I
sir.
appreciate you.
No problem. I definitely enjoy it.
Hey, before we get out of here, just like to plug your social media handle and your own podcast, just in case anybody hasn't followed you yet and would like to.
Yeah, I'm family. Y'all should know about now. I've been on here enough.
My man is smart, man. All right, everybody. We will see you again on Sunday. Enjoy the bye week. We really, truly appreciate you guys. If you made it this far, you're
They
a damn
can't hurt
champion.
us this week.
You are a
That's
champion.
right.
I'm Kyle.
I'm Hall.
Oh, dude, and why I was laughing so hard because you said Matt Nagy earlier, and I was listening to B. Mitch and Finley earlier, and the way that if you heard JP pronounce Matt Nagy's name,
We used to say like Nagy or something
dude,
like that.
it was close,
Yeah,
and I was
I've
like,
heard him.
whoa, bro.
Yeah.
Whoa. All right, but that's going to wrap us up for this episode, boys. That's why I was laughing, because it just reminded me, like I heard on the radio, and I was like, what is happening? All right, everybody, I'll catch you guys next time. Washington football.
Peace.
Woo!
Peace.
What's up, everyone? This is Kyle from the Burgundy Zone. We are releasing our own merch to support the show. If you want to rock the Burgundy Zone logo or you want to see Reed's face on your shirt, we got it. We're starting with t-shirts, hoodies, and zip-up. So if you're a fan of the show, make sure you snag one before they are gone. Check out the link in our bio on Instagram, or you can find the link in the description of the video. Thanks again for all your support. Until next time.